Right, well, here we are, nicely settled in. We're in the lounge of Mount Haven, near Penzance. With me, Orange, you're the co-owner of the hotel.
UK Richard.
Hi, and also we have Janet with us. Now, this is revolutionary because I believed that we were coming to a haunted hotel. I was going to spend the night here. Goodness knows what was going to happen. But it was a haunted hotel, wasn't it, Orange?
It certainly was, Richard.
But
yeah.
it ain't now.
No, Richard, it isn't. Janet and I are light workers, and when I took over the Mount Haven Hotel, the place was full of all sorts of discarnate spirits. Some of them were completely benevolent, and there were a few very nasty entities around that had obviously been tied up with witchcraft and animal sacrifice in the past. They were causing a bit of trouble, especially in my personal area.
Yeah.
And one of my children was being very badly affected, and a few people had come and done bits of work here. They'd had to move on an entity from there that was in great distress, but you know, it just kept on and on and on. There were so many. You'd be sitting in the old dining room downstairs, and they were just floating about all over the place. And being someone that works with the light, and I'm here because the energy from St Michael's Mount is so powerful, and it's an energy I wanted to work with for healing.
Yes.
I knew it was very important to move these beings on.
Yes.
You know, these were beings I understand as they're stuck. You know,
Yep.
when they've passed over, they haven't gone to the light, and they're stuck, and they're generally unhappy and need moving on. In the end, Janet walked in here one day, you know, as fate would have it, and we discussed the fact that, you know, I'd had different people in and had different work done, but, you know, it was just endless.
Yeah.
You know, it's going back hundreds of years, and so Janet offered to take on the job of doing the healing work, of moving these spirits on and clearing the space totally for me,
Right.
and helping me to hold
And of course she did do that.
Oh, she certainly did.
So, come on, Janet. How do you do that?
Well, the most important thing that you do is look at it as a healing.
Yeah.
That is actually what it is. Because when beings move on from incarnate life and they move into the death process, what they are supposed to do is move onwards.
Right.
They are supposed to move to another dimension of light, and they are supposed to go through certain processes in order that they can evolve and grow.
Yes.
But what happens with a lot of them is, but because perhaps they have died in very dreadful circumstances, very difficult circumstances, or there has been suicide, murder, witchcraft, or whatever, it's rather like going along a railway track and the soul has gone into a siding. And into a shed.
But by accident, if you like.
By accident, in a way, yes. And they have got trapped and they're stuck and they cannot move.
Right.
And that for them is really atrocious.
Yeah.
I deal with them with love and compassion, and I deal with it as a healing. And a lot of them are very scared to move on into the light. And the reason that they are so terrified is that they think they are going to meet some great judgmental God who is going to come down very heavily on them and say, oh, you're going to be punished for
Punish them for their sins.
Exactly. And that is not what happens at all.
No, in other words, of course, that's man-made.
Yes.
Or should I say
That is
church-made?
It
Or
is a misconception, because that is not what happens. In fact, what happens is truly wonderful. First of all, when a being actually goes from this life, they go into something called the bardo, the interlife, and they go through an overlife review. So that they review the whole of the life.
Themselves.
Themselves. They actually see what they have done, what they have thought, and they see their good deeds and their misdeeds, if you like.
Yes.
And then they have to move on to a process whereby they have to decide on the next stage of their being.
Yes.
And the only being who actually makes the judgment on what they should do is themselves.
Yes.
Nobody else does it for them.
So there should have no fear whatsoever, of going on, of going to the light.
And this is what I explain.
The only judgment will be from themselves.
Exactly. And one of the ways that I help to move them on is to bring in their ancestors, because their ancestors have already been through it.
And they can tell them.
They can tell them. So when I create the pathways of light and I open the vortices of light in order for them to move onwards, I bring their ancestors in with their hands out,
Yes,
stretched
yes,
if you
yes.
like, and love there, and say, it's okay to move, it's fine, it'll be all right. No matter what you have done, it's okay. Because it is all about love and forgiveness and redemption. And no matter whether the soul is what you might term malevolent,
Yeah.
or whether it is benevolent, forgiveness is the important thing.
And of course, whatever it is, whether it's dark or not, it craves the light.
Exactly. They long to go back to the light.
Of course.
Because the light is their source.
Yeah. So really, what we're saying is that all the folks up and down the country and all around the world, actually, that are obviously making something out of ghosts, there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever, but really and truly what they should also be doing is helping them.
Is looking at a way that they can be moved on. Because really, if you don't do that, it's like putting them into a prison cell,
Oh, yeah.
turning the lock, and
And
throwing
leaving
away
them.
the key,
Yeah.
and leaving them.
It's a little bit like...
You wouldn't leave a child or a dog dying on a
No,
motorway.
you wouldn't.
It's just
No,
the same.
and also it's a little bit like letting the animals out of the zoo,
It is in a way.
because that's what
Yeah.
we're doing. We're viewing them, paying money to look at them at haunted
Exactly.
places. Nothing wrong with the stories, but for goodness sake, release them.
Release them because they want to go. And nobody can ever tell me that they don't, because the only
Of course they do.
reason they don't want to is because of this fear.
Yeah.
You take away the fear and they are so happy
Of course.
to
yeah.
move onwards.
Yeah. So in other words, you're probably not the most popular person in Cornwall,
Probably not.
because you're actually like a big vacuum,
Exactly.
sucking them up
Yes.
and sending them to where they
To
should
the
go.
light.
That has been enlightening for me. It's something very similar to what I've believed, but to speak to someone else that actually is doing it has been fantastic. So you think that I'll probably have quite a good night's sleep tonight?
Oh, I think you'll sleep very well.
Wonderful.
Richard.
That's
And I
all right.
wouldn't try and do this work yourself, by the way.
No,
Quite
I won't.
dangerous.
I shall have to come back and speak to Janet.
With pleasure.
Ladies, thank you very much.